NBA picks today for all 14 games coming right at you. So get comfortable, get some Red Lobster takeout, and let's talk NBA betting. Off the jump, it's our daily sizzler. We've hit 4 straight, and we're going for 5. Today, it's the Pistons minus 1.5 at Toronto. You know, the Raptors are one of those teams that really don't have a home court edge. They're 16-12 straight up at home and 16-10 on the road. The Pistons, of course, are the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference, and they're 17-7 straight up on the road. In their last 7 road games, Detroit has a +2 raw point differential. In their last 7 home games, the Raptors have a negative point differential per game. And in those last 7 home games the Raptors have played, they're 3-4 straight up. They beat Atlanta twice and Orlando once. Anytime they've stepped up in class at home over their last 7, they've gotten hammered. They lost to the Knicks by 16, to the Celtics by 16, again to the Celtics by 8, and to Denver by 3. Now, both these teams, the Pistons and the Raptors, top 10 scoring defenses. Toronto's 6th and Detroit's 3rd. But the offenses are miles apart. Detroit's a top 10 offense. The Raptors are 22nd. The Pistons minus 1.5 today's Daily Sizzler. If you're looking for my best premium play of the day, the one that goes out to Jungle members, you can get that as well. It's called my $5 favorite. The link for it is in the comment section. And I'm so confident in it today that if it doesn't hit, if you purchase it and it doesn't hit, tomorrow is on me. If you're looking to become a Jungle member, if you want to roll with everything I'm rolling with today and every day, you can do that as a member by going to silverbackjungle.com or texting free trial to the number on your screen. So now, second game of the 14-game slate. Hang with me. We got Milwaukee plus 10.5 at Orlando, the over-under 220.5. Now, they just did this in Orlando 2 days ago. The Magic won by 19 as a 9.5-point favorite. I think it'll be closer this time, though. 10.5 is a number that the Magic have only covered in 17% of games this season. And the Bucks have covered in 69 their end. They've covered in 69% of theirs. All things return to the mean. I would take the Bucks with the points, and I consider Kevin Porter Jr. of Milwaukee over 6.5 assists. Atlanta plus 5.5 at Charlotte. Over under 232.5. Charlotte has won 9 of their last 10 straight up, and they're 14-10 at home against the spread this season. Atlanta has Jalen Johnson, Zachary Ricochet, Dyson Daniels, all listed as questionable. They're all dinged up, and this is their last game before the All-Star break, so I don't think there's any need to get these guys injured. My guess is that they'll give them some extra rest tonight going into the break. So I would take the Hornets minus the 5.5, and I do it sooner than later because as soon as those other guys in the Hawks are listed as out, the line's going to spike up. I'd also consider Brandon Miller over 23.5 points. Washington plus 18.5. Bless their heart at Cleveland. Over under 238.5. I would take all those points with the Wizards. This is a number that Cleveland has covered in just 13% of games this season, and Washington has covered their end of plus 18.5 in 68% of games. Cleveland has a raw point differential of plus 5.1 per game over their last 7 home games, and Washington has a raw point differential of minus 8.6 in their last 7 road games. 18.5 is too many. I'd take them with the Wizards, and I consider Alex Sarr over 16.5 points. And if you're wondering why I discuss raw point differential instead of total, it's a better measurement. And what the difference is, all it is per 100 possessions, what your point differential is. It's a better way to determine point differential in the current state of a team. Chicago plus 13.5 at Boston, over under 225.5. Chicago's been getting housed, man. They're in terrible current form. They're 1-8 against the spread in their last 9 games, and they've lost 4 of their last 5 by a margin of this margin of 13.5 or more. Boston's coming off a home loss to the Knicks. I'm sure they're not happy with that. They'll be looking to go into the break with some positive momentum. I would lay the points here with Boston, and I consider Jaylen Brown over 6.5 rebounds. Knicks plus 2.5 at Philadelphia. Over under 222.5. Knicks coming off of a home loss last night to those pesky Indiana Pacers. Now the line opened up at the Knicks minus 2.5. Heavy money came in last night on Philadelphia and moved the line 4 points. So now it's Philly minus 2.5. This should be a very close game. I'd rather have the Knicks with the points, especially off of a loss going into the break. These two teams have played 3 times this season. Philadelphia won both times in New York. New York won the last time, the most recent game, in Philadelphia. And this is the only game that the Sixers are favored in. And again, that's because of the money move on them. So I would take the points with the Knicks, and I consider Josh Hart over 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Pacers plus 5.5 at Brooklyn. It's funny when Brooklyn leads points, isn't it? Over under 215.5. Michael Porter Jr., of course, out for the Nets. The Nets are coming off 2 home wins in which they scored over 120 points, which is very rare for them, but that was against Chicago and Washington. The Pacers certainly aren't good, but they play a much different style of basketball and much different defense than the Wizards and the Bulls do. This is a number that Brooklyn has covered just 25% of home games this season, and I don't trust them laying this many. And the Pacers coming off of a win in New York last night, and they've been playing better. They've won 4 of their last 10 straight up, and it's a step down in class from last night. I look for them to carry momentum into the All-Star break. I would take the 5.5 with the Pacers. Clippers plus 9.5 at Houston. The over-under is 209.5, low total. The Clippers plus 7.5 yesterday was our sizzler, and they hit for us. They lost by 7. It was an odd game because it's one of those few games this season where the Rockets were out-rebounded and outscored in the paint by 10 points, in fact. They had 40-point paints, and the Clippers had 50. That's very rare. I look for them to get their dominance back tonight, though, in the paint and on the glass. And Kawhi Leonard of the Clippers, we don't know if they're going to play. They might rest him going into the All-Star break. And by the way, the only thing that saved the Rockets last night was their three-point shooting. They were 14 of 28, 50% from 3. Like I said, I think they return to the dominance in the paint tonight and rebounding. And while they're not going to hit 50% of the threes, they are a good three-point shooting team, sixth best in the NBA. And Vegas agrees with me because although the Clippers covered the shorter number last night, they raised it to 9.5 today. I like the Rockets minus 9.5, and I would consider Kevin Durant over 24.5 points. Whenever you're shopping for a bet, whenever you're looking to place a bet, you should always shop around for the best price. If you don't, you're leaving money on the table. Truly, it's like paying more for the same product in a store. MyBookie.ag is a sponsor of the show. They're legal in all 50 states and to our friends in Canada. And they have a deal for Jungle viewers. Open up a new account today at MyBookie.ag. Make sure to use promo code SILVERBACK. And if your first bet doesn't hit, they refund it up to $500. You can't lose. Miami minus 1.5 at New Orleans. Kind of a fishy line. Over under 233.5. Norman Powell out. Andrew Wiggins questionable. The Pelicans have won 3 of their last 5 home games, but that was against Brooklyn, Memphis, and Sacramento. This is a step up in class for them at home, even without Norman Powell playing for the Heat. Miami has covered the spread in 7 of their last 10 road games, and they're 17-8 against the spread in their last 25 games against bottom 10 defenses, of which the Pelicans are a card-carrying member. I would take it. I would lay the 1.5 with Miami. I wouldn't think too much about it, and I would consider Jaime Jaquez over 9.5 rebounds plus assists. Portland plus 7.5 at Minnesota. Pardon me, over under 238.5. I think it's too many points to give the Blazers. They've been playing really well. They've won 3 straight, and they've covered this number of plus 7.5 in 70% of their last 20 games. Also, with Denny Avia and Drew Holiday playing, which they are today, they've covered 7.5 in 13 of 17 games this season. Minnesota has covered their end of minus 7.5 in just 45% of games this season, and they failed to cover it in 5 of their last 8 home games. I like the Blazers with the points, and I would consider Drew Holiday over 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Memphis plus 13.5, dear God, at Denver, over under 237.5. I think the total's high, but I think the Nuggets team total is way too high. It's listed at 126.5, so take under that. They score 120.3 points per game. Memphis gives up 117.4. This is a number that the Nuggets have reached in just 11 of 54 games this season, or 20%. So under 126.5, Denver team total is the play, and I consider Ty Jerome of Memphis over 20.5 points plus assists. Sacramento plus 6.5 at Utah. Over under 230.5. If you're going to lay 6.5 points with the Jazz, the time to do it. is against Sacramento. The Kings have lost 13 straight games. They're 3-24 on the road, and they have a raw point differential on the road of minus 14 points per game. I would lay it with Utah, but more as a fade of the Kings. And I would look into Jaren Jackson Jr. He's been playing really well with Utah, over 24.5 points plus rebounds. OKC minus 7.5 at Phoenix, over under 217.5. The Thunder have played 5 games without SGA, of course, who's out again tonight, and they've covered this number of minus 7.5 only against the Lakers and the Jazz. Any step up in class without SGA, they have not covered this number of minus 7.5. They lost straight up to the Rockets and Spurs and did not cover against the Grizzlies, beat them by just a point. I don't think they have any business laying 7.5 on the road to a Phoenix team at home in a focus spot where they're 85% against this number of plus 7.5. Suns with the points, and consider Devin Booker over 27.5 points plus assists. 14th game. Here we go. Hey, comment in the comment section the word jungle if you're still with me and if you got through the whole video with me. San Antonio minus 7.5 at Golden State. The over-under is 221.5. San Antonio has been monstrous lately. They've covered this number of minus 7.5 in 7 of their last 8 games. Golden State is just 36% against the spread without Steph Curry. And they score a league-low 102 points per game without Curry in the lineup. San Antonio scores 119 per game. Hammer the Spurs, minus the 7.5, and consider Stephon Castle over 7.5 assists. Hey, have a great day, Jungle Nation. Thanks for all your support. I'll see you next time with a little more money in your pocket.